Professor Goodhart's colleague Krempov gives 3 midterm exams. He drops the lowest and gives each student her average score on the other two. Okay, Poli Sci is taking his course and has 60 on her first exam. Like x2 be the score on the second exam and x3 be the score on the third exam. If we draw her ICs for scores on second and third exams with x2 represented by the horizontal axis and x3 represented by the vertical axis, then her indifference curve would be. So first of all, let's look at ICs. What will it be like? So what this professor is doing is he takes 3 exams, he drops the lowest score and the other scores he takes the mean of. Okay, so her score, so let's say the scores are x2 and x3 and x1 is given to be equal to 60. Okay, so this is your x3 equals to 60 and this is, let's say, your x2 equals to 60. So whenever your x2 is less than 60 but x3 is greater than 60, he will drop off x2. Okay, so x2 is less than 60, x3 is greater than 60. So in that situation, x2 would be dropped. So what is that region? That region is going to be, let me break down this entire first quadrant into 4 regions. Okay, region 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so when x2 is less than 60, so case is x2 less than 60, x2 less than 60 and x1, x3 greater than 60. So in this case, x2 is dropped off and the final marks become x3 plus x1 by 2. x1 is already given to me as 60, so this becomes 30 plus x3 by 2. Okay, so this becomes your final mark. So your indifference curve becomes 30 plus x3 by 2. Okay, so 30 plus x3 by 2, so that is the utility level. So utility is going to be 30 plus x3 by 2. So the ICs will be horizontal. So for all constant x3 values, whenever x3 is a given value, the utility level will be 30 plus x3 by 2. Okay, so that's your region 4. Okay, now let's get rid of this region. So that completes the shape of the ICs for region 4. Now let's look at some other regions. Okay, let's talk about when x3 is less than 60 but x2 is greater than 60. Okay, so when x3 is less than 60 but x2 is greater than 60, in that case you drop off x3. x3 is going to be the lowest. Okay, x1 is already fixed at, remember x1 is already fixed at 60. So when x3 is less than 60, you will drop off x3. That becomes the lowest score. So your marks become 60 plus x2 by 2, which is going to be 30 plus x2 by 2. So for all constant x2 values, your final marks is going to be constant. So your ICs are going to be look like this. Okay, so these are basically your x2 equals to constant lines. Okay, so your ICs will look like this. Now case 3, let's take case 3 when both x2 and x3 are less than, sorry, let's take case 1 first. Case 1 is region 1 is both x2 and x3 are greater than 60. Okay, so x1 is also greater than 60 and x2 is also greater than 60 and x3 is also greater than 60. x1 to usne diya hai is equals to 60. Okay, so in this situation, which score will you drop off? x1. You will drop off x1. So your final marks are going to be x2 plus x3 by 60. So your final marks will be So your utility function is 1 by 60 times of x2 plus x3. So this is basically perfect substitutes wala situation, x2 plus x3. So remember utility equals to x plus y. Okay, so this is just x plus y by 60. So the ICs are going to be similar to utility equals to x plus y. So the ICs will basically look like this. In this region, they are going to look similar to the ICs of x plus y. Okay. Now the final situation is both x2 and x3 less than 60. Okay. So final situation is x2 is also less than 60 and x3 is also less than 60. Okay. Remember x1 was equal to 60. Now which one will you drop off? Now that will depend on which of x2 and x3 is going to be smaller. So इसके अंदर भी दो cases बन जाएंगे. One would be x2 less than x3. So in that situation utility would be equal to you will drop off x2 in this situation. Utility will be equal to 60 plus x3 by 2, which is going to be 30 plus x3 by 2. Okay. So x2 less than x3 region mein. What is x2 less than x3? So this, let me erase a few things now. So I need to plot x2 less than x3. So this is your line x2 equals to x3. So this is the region for x2 greater than x3 and this is the region for x2 less than x3. So when x2 is less than x3, when x2 is less than x3, you have utility equals to 30 plus x3 by 2. So it is dependent only on the x3 values. So your utility is only dependent on x3 values, which means the ICs will basically be looking like this here. Okay, it only depends on the x3 values. So for all values of constant x3, the ICs are going to be the same. Similarly here, the ICs you will get like this. Okay, so what's the bottom line? The bottom line IC. So let me just get rid of all the clutter and draw a nice clean slate. से इसको शुरू करते हैं. So what will the ICs look like? So first of all, you need 4 regions. Yeah, 4 regions. So the regions are going to look like this. Okay, in here the ICs will be looking like this. In here they look like this. In here they look like this. Okay, and here you can just draw a line. Okay, so this will continue to be horizontal like this and they will continue to be vertical like this. So this is what the shape of the indifference curves will look like. Now finally they have asked her the indifference curve through the point 50 comma 70. So 50 comma 70. So this was the point 60. Okay, so 50 is going to be here, 70 is going to be here. So IC through this point will be this one, 50 comma 70. Okay, this was again the point 60. So this is your 70, this is your 50. So this will be the point 50 comma 70. So the IC through this point is a horizontal line. So IC through this point is going to be then indifference curve through this line is okay. So the IC to this line is going to be this, this and this. Okay, so the entire IC will look like this, this and this. This will be the entire IC. So horizontal part, a -1 slope part and then a vertical part. So 3 line segments, one vertical, one horizontal and one running from 70 comma 60 to 60 comma 70. So these are your points 70 comma 60 and 60 comma 70. So इन दोनों के बीच में ये बीच वाला section is going to be between these 2 points. So that's your answer B.